And today we've come here to talk about Atlassian Cloud migration. Is the journey worth it and how to secure it? And for this presentation, please welcome Horacio from our Valiantis team in the North America. Over to you, Horacio.
Thank you, Anthony. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. I'm Horacio. I'm based in Toronto, Canada, and today we're going to be talking about the migration to the Atlassian Cloud. During this presentation, I will be covering these 5 topics: the current stage of the cloud. We're going to talk about back to basics, cloud versus servers, reasons to move to the cloud, the migration journey, and finally, I will go over some recommendations and tips. So let's start with the current state of the cloud. So the numbers you see right now in the screens, that they're a good indication that there is a trend in the cloud services adoption. It is proven that the use of cloud applications can improve overall revenue by lowering overhead costs. This is just one of the reasons why business keep moving to the cloud more and more. Another interesting statistic not shown in the slide here is that in 2013, there were about 2.4 billion customers as cloud users. And only in the past 5 years, that number increased by 50%. So today they're about 3.6 billion. So that's a good indication that this is the direction where most of the services are going. So modern IT is facing many challenges these days. Among those challenges, we can name a few, like security. One of the common problems here is password reuse. That's a problem that increases the risk of hacks. Visibility for the IT team, so users have the ability to adopt applications without IT involvement. So IT has a limited visibility of what users are using. Governance, there's a number of apps usage that keep increasing, and this is always keep making difficult to IT to keep up with those. And the last one, budget, it's now more often than before, IT needs to manage and optimize costs, I will say probably on a daily or weekly basis. So how is Atlassian responding? So cloud, it's the long-term strategy. And because of that, Atlassian is investing a lot of money towards the cloud. A good indication that the Atlassian Cloud is the direction most companies are moving to is those 2 statistics we see here, that 80% of the Fortune 500 companies, now they have an Atlassian license. And over 90% of new customers are choosing cloud over server. Okay, so we talk about the state. Now we're going to talk about Atlassian Cloud versus server. So what's the main difference? Server usually is hosted in company premises or within the company cloud infrastructure. Server allows admins to multiple options of customization, which is a good feature, but we need to be careful because if this capability is abused, it could become a nightmare at the time of supporting and upgrading the server. Cloud also provides alternatives to customize, but in most cases it's through marketplace applications. Cloud removes the burden of delaying the infrastructure and can be installed in minutes. So the last main difference to consider is the licensing model. Server is perpetual, so you pay one fee one time. then you can pay maintenance, and cloud it's a monthly or yearly fee. So when speaking about capability, both options provide similar benefits. So in here, what we can see it's what is considered the Atlassian Cloud family. So Jira Core, it's the foundation of Jira software and Jira Service Desk. Jira Align is basically a solution for the enterprise. It's more oriented to scale agile. Confluence, the collaboration tool. Then we have Bitbucket, Status Page, and Opsgenie, more related to operations. Then also we have Atlassian Access, which is the way Atlassian provides capabilities for administering users and organizations across all these platforms. Okay, so now we can talk about why moving to the cloud. Let's focus in these four areas for now. So security. Cloud provides data encryption in transit and REST APIs. Also includes controls at single sign-on, enforced two-way authentications, among others. When we talk about privacy, there are privacy controls that implemented based on industry best practices. A couple of examples is Privacy Shield and the GDPR compliance. Speaking about compliance, Atlassian undergo independent third-party audits, and their products are certified with SOC 2 and ISO, among others. And finally, reliability. Atlassian products are designed for high performance and availability. So we did already mention some of the benefits. Let's get into those benefits a little bit more details. So we talk about that getting into cloud, it's really quick. You can get up and running in minutes. The infrastructure is managed for you, so that's a good indication of lowering cost of ownerships. Updates are rolled out automatically. It's good to mention in this case that premium subscribers, one of the different models of subscription for cloud, will soon have a configuration panel for admins to allow them to plan the features rollout. What's been happening these days is every time there's a new feature, it's rolled out to the cloud and everyone has access to it. So now they're going to put some controls in place that companies, they're going to have the ability to define when they want to roll out those changes. So total cost of ownership, as you can see in the chart, the savings come to play a role when your server needs to be implemented, maintained, and upgraded. So that's the gray area you see on the right side of the chart. So all those costs are included within cloud because most of this is managed for you. Okay, let's talk about the journey to the Atlassian Cloud. So the steps we're going to go if we decide to move to the cloud. There are three main stages: pre-migration, migration, and post-migration. Even though this seems to be a linear process, we need to be aware that some of these steps are going to be cycling back and forth. So closer we get to the migration stage, more and more is what we learn of the stage of our server instance. So as we know for practice, it's difficult to plan everything ahead, and we're going to end up discovering different edge case scenarios that they were not considered. So don't take this as a linear process. It's something that goes back and forth many times. So within this process, there's an estimation on how long it could take each of these stages. These numbers are based on real scenarios. It's a case study done by Atlassian. So the assessment piece, which is very, very important, it's something that can be between 3 and 6 months. And this is important and critical because here's where you're going to see what are going to be your benefits of moving to the cloud, what are the features you have in server today and may not be available in cloud, and if that's the case, how you're going to be replacing those, because if they're not available in cloud, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have the same feature. There are different ways you can implement it. Then planning and preparation between, I would say, 4 months between these two. Then test, and test. Again, I keep insisting in testing. This is the critical piece in any of these initiatives. And finally, migration and launch. And we know by experience that after we launch, we need to come back to some of the testing and migration processes because things could happen during that situation. Okay, so that's take us to our last topic, which is recommendations and tips for a good migration. So while we are doing the assessing of our server, this is some things we need to consider. So what are the functionalities you need, your company need, what you're using today, and sometimes there are functionalities that they've been implemented in the past and they're not used anymore. Are the apps you use available in cloud? I talk about that. I'm saying that because the strategy for Atlassian is cloud is pushing really hard in the vendors to have more and more apps available in server and cloud. Sometimes it may happen that you look at one of the apps in marketplace and you see that it's only available for server. So that's the trend, that's the direction Atlassian is going. So you also need to consider if there are restrictions or where your data is stored. So some companies, they require to retain the data or maintain the data within their own country. So, and finally, is this aligning with your IT strategy? So again, involving IT, it's critical as well. So let's talk about the approaches or strategies that you can apply. And again, these are options that will depend on the situation of your organizations, and you will have to choose between these options, or you can come up with your own version of strategy. So the ones to consider that the most commons are moving everything at once, split or federate multiple clouds. You can do the migration in a project by project basis. You can keep your server running, move a few projects to the cloud, do a thorough testing, and then when you're happy, you can start bringing more and more. Or you can merge and consolidate. If you have multiple instances, you can go with a single cloud instance. And again, that will depend on the conditions of your server and requirements of your company. So let's talk about the Valiantis Cloud. So Valiantis Cloud is an alternative to the cloud. So this is something that you consider in Valiantis. We provide this host in AWS, and this is a self-managed service, and we are providing a 24/7 multilingual support. I don't know if I mentioned this, but all of our technicians are AWS certified. So continue with the alternative migration from any platform. Configuration, it's completely customized to your organization needs. Again, everyone is certified, AWS certified in our team, and the communication is always through SSL encrypted communication. So tips for migration: get to know the Atlassian Cloud. You can start with a free version and give it a try, test it, play around with different plugins, different apps, develop a user management strategy. This is critical. This is going to be saving you many headaches in the features, identifying who is doing what, who has permission to what. Especially when we're talking about administration, you need to have a really good plan in administration, and most of the changes in your instance should go through a group of people who's gonna be doing an evaluation. Don't let only one single individual to be responsible for all the administration, because sometimes this is become a nightmare as well. So simplify your migration. When you're making this decision, you need to think about bringing only what you need, probably not everything or all stuff, or you can keep stuff archived and not use it. You can restore it at any time into the cloud if needed. Test, test, and test. I think I mentioned this a few times already. So this is really, really important. So testing before making any move to the production. And finally, don't go alone. So Valiantis can help you with the migration. We have done this many, many times. We have a group of people with a lot of experience, and our advice and can help you save a lot of money when it's time of migration.